Okay, so this is my revised Hopeless Scream deck. In this deck, I have 3 Flabébés and 2 Floettes, 3 Digletts, 3 Dugtrios, 4 Nincadas, and 4 Shedinjas. So, I took out the Hitmonlee and added the Dugtrio, 1 Dugtrio, 1 Diglett, and so that I could get things going faster. Also, in the trainers, and in the trainer department, I have lots of draw. Well, I don't know if I have lots of draw support, but my trainers will draw support heavily. I have a bicycle. I took out 1 Professor Birch because with this deck, you are going to need to get those 7 cards. Those 4 cards are not going to cut it with this deck. So I traded 1 Birch for a Sycamore. So I have 3 Sycamores and 1 Birch. I took out Shauna because I never used her, and I still run 2 Tyrannos. He is, for this deck, if you use him, he pops up, you can use him or not. Yeah, I mean, use him if he pops up, but he's just there, if you're not needing a bigger hand at the time. Otherwise, use Sycamore or Birch. And I run a Bridget, so I can get the Nincadas out and the Digletts. Now, if you use Bridget while Team Magma Secret Base is up, your Pokemon will not take any damage from Team Magma Secret Base. So keep that in mind here. That could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, just keep that in mind. And also I added, and also in this version, I run 2 energy recyclers. Why do I run 2 energy recyclers? Well, because I run 3 Sycamores. This way, I can discard my energies, my fighting grass energies, without worry, and then I can just put them back in my deck. Because in this deck you'll get cards pretty easily. So if you're discarding, 3, 5 energies, doesn't matter. You can just draw them back later pretty quickly, and then you can just use this, come back in your deck, and then draw them back out. So it's not that bad. Let's see. So that's why that's there. And this card is really, really neat. Energy Reset. It's a fairly new card. You put as many energies attached to your Pokemon as you like into your hand. As you like. So you just pick them and put them back in your hand. There's no limit or excess. So it's pretty versatile there. What this mainly is used for, though, is for the rainbow energies. Like, say, I have a Shedinja on the field with no damage on him. I put a rainbow energy on him, and I don't have a Dugtrio or a Magma base, so I don't really have a good way of getting damage kind of shit. And I only run 3 of these, so I put a rainbow energy on my Nincada or Shedinja. Take it off with the energy reset, and then put it back on the next turn, and then that's a free other 50 damage for the Shedinja right there with the energy reset without having to look for a rainbow energy. So that actually won me a game once, and I was quite surprised. So for this deck, this item is very good. So I mean, you could use it for other things too, I'm sure. But that's its main purpose. Take the rainbow energies off Shedinja or Nincada, and then put it back on a Shedinja or Nincada, or even another Shedinja or Nincada. So just to kind of put the damage counters where you want them. And I run 2 Lysanders in this deck. I run 2 Lysanders in this deck because I wanted it to be a bit offensive. I wanted this to be an offensive deck. So that's why I run 2. I tried running 3. It didn't work. 3 just did not work for the deck. 3 was one too many. 1 seemed to be too less. 2 seemed to be, you know, just right. So, in my opinion. So, let's see. So the goal of this deck is to get as many shedinja set up and ready to go with at least 150 damage, 100 to 200 damage set up and ready to go. So I guess you want at least 2 to 3 shedinja getting ready with at least 2 damage counters on each shedinja before you start hammering in. That's the goal of the deck. And you want to do that as fast as possible. And also, that should be your first priority, is to get those 2 damage counters. Well, actually, yeah, your first priority should be to get actually the Floette out, to be honest. She should be your first priority, actually. Well, second. Your first one, I think, should get this guy out, and then your second should get the Floette, and then the next, the nincadas and stuff. So, and really, you want those shedinja set up as fast as possible. What you want to do is knock out your opponent. Start knocking out your opponent before they have the chance to set up. Before. You don't want them setting up. If they set up, you're probably not. You have a good chance of losing at that point, I think. The goal of this deck is to get started and start knocking your opponent's Pokemon out before they get set up. I'm not saying you're going to lose if they get set up, but chances are you're probably in the blind at that point. So, and this is a very fast moving deck. It's very quick. It can go through the deck very quickly. A couple of matches with it, I had 19 cards in my deck. They still had like 38, 33. So, I mean, there's that. It goes through the cards in the deck very quickly. It's a very fast-paced deck. You constantly want to be drawing cards because it's so fast. Because you need those nincadas and shedinjas and Floettes and Dugtrios, and you know, you're going to be training some Pokemon from time to time. So you're going to want that draw support to get the next Pokemon line, you know. You're gonna need to constantly be drawing cards with this deck. Maybe not constantly, but at least every other turn. Because you're going to run out of cards because you're going to play them, you know. And you do use all the cards in your hand, generally, because they are all pretty useful, you know. And if you throw some cards in supporters in the discard pile, I got 2 Verse Seekers, so there's that. Crushing Hammer, always useful, and probably my favorite cards in the game. But that energy reset, man, let me tell you, really, really awesome. Now, some cons to this deck setup. Some cons to it. One, you're going to have a very, very hard time with status condition inflicting decks. Especially paralysis, and poison. You're going to have a particularly bad time with those 2 conditions. Confusion will still put, you know, a stumbling block in your way, but you know, it's passable. Because I run so little energy, because I have no way of fishing for energy beyond draw support, and because so the retreat cost of all of them is 1. So I mean, yeah, you have easy retreats, and I only need 1 energy per Pokemon, but you know, it's you still have to retreat it and get another energy on. So so just be careful with the status condition inflicting. Well, you're gonna have problems with the status condition decks, that I think that's your main concern. Status condition inflicting decks. Also, bench damage decks, Mega Steelix decks. Any deck that focuses on a Pokemon that can do bench damage, those are going to be your worst enemy. Because this deck, I have no bench deflectors. You know, I don't run any in here. I mean, I don't think they're that prevalent anyway. I haven't really come across any bench. I've come across a Mega Steelix deck. Not with this deck, but I've came across one. But that guy takes 5 energies to set up, and by the time he gets his 5 energies, you're probably ready knocking him out. So I'm not going to be too concerned about that. I'd be concerned about Alakazams, Mega Alakazams, and Alakazam EXs mostly. But I don't see too many of those for some reason. But you know, this is a very, very, very offensive deck. It's very quick to get set up. It's very quick to get started, and and when it gets going, it gets going, and it just doesn't stop really. And jaw support is very, very good, I think, in this deck. Now, I would suggest Acrobike. Maybe 1 Bicycle, 1 Acrobike. I don't think you can go wrong with Acrobike either in this deck. I think that'd be a good thing. Maybe add a Dodrio with Retreat Aid. Maybe add a bench blocker damage thing. Maybe add, I mean, there are lots of things you could do with this, deck, I guess, in terms of what you wanted it to do. You can make it be slower, you could make it be faster, maybe. I don't know if you can make it faster. But in this variation of the Hopeless Scream deck, it is all about speed, and it is all about quickness, and that's what this deck is designed to be: speedy and quick. And let's see, anything else? But honestly, though, without the Hitmonlees in the deck, the Dugtrios, this deck has won more games in a row than the other deck. So I say go with this version if you're looking to win, to be honest. So I'm fairly happy with this setup here, and come up with your own variations, But for this deck, I would always suggest 3 Dugtrios, 3 Digletts, 2 to 3 Floettes. I may even suggest 3 of these, to be honest, just in case. But 2's fine, and definitely 3 of these, just to make sure you can get them out. So, and then what really I think what really makes difference with this deck is just what you do with your trainers. It's all up to you on what you do there, and then you can change Pokemon to suit, But there's lots of things, So just kind of have fun with it and do what you want. But if you want a speedy, get right to the point, start setting up very quickly, getting that jaw support. That's fairly offensive. That's a fairly offensive deck, and that could stop the opponent setting up. That's what this deck was built for, and yeah. So that's really all I gotta say about it.